Since 2003, this is the Sports Source, East Tennessee's #1 sports talk show.
Presented by Pipe Wrench, and by Junk Be Gone, and by the Garza Law Firm.
With your host, John Pennington. The Sports Source starts now.
Good Sunday morning and welcome into the Junk Be Gone studios for today's version of the Sports Source. We've got a lot to cover today. Most of it is going to be on Tennessee basketball, or a good chunk of it at least, going to be on Tennessee basketball. Vols have now lost 3 out of 4, 2 of them by buzzer beaters. So is that serious reason for concern and worry? Or is that, it's regular season basketball. It's the usual roller coaster. You're up, you're down. We'll debate all that, and we'll also give you a good breakdown on, it wasn't a problem yesterday, offensively, but what has been Tennessee's issue on offense? We've done the numbers, and Mark Pankratz is going to use them to break it down for you. It's a pretty simple solution as to why their offense hasn't looked great this year, and yet their shooting is middle of the pack. How can you have middle of the pack shooting and your offense not look good? We got an answer for you. Stick around for that. We've also got plenty of football. Texas and Oklahoma, turns out they did work a deal after saying, there's no deal. There was a deal. So we'll cover expansion. What does that mean for football? What does it mean for basketball? That's one nobody ever talks about. Let's get into it. First segment of this program brought to you by our friends at Junk Be Gone. It's almost time for spring cleaning, and no one can make that easier for you than Junk Be Gone. Rent a driveway dumpster, load it up, and have them haul it away. Heck, they can even come over and help you with small demolition jobs. They do it all. JunkBeGone.biz to learn more about this fine local company. All right, let me introduce you to these fine local analysts we have today. We got one more waiting in the wings. Jimmy Himes from 99.1 The Sports Animal. Jimmy, thanks for being here.
Thank you, John.
Mark Pankratz, who of course played Division I basketball at Milwaukee, then came here and was an assistant coach under Bruce Pearl, an assistant coach under Conzo Martin, and you've been our assistant coach. You've been the coach. You've been the head coach on this show for a while. Mark, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
We don't pay, though. That's the problem. You get no buyout if you leave. Josh Ward right here. Josh from 99.1 The Sports Animal. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks, John.
Longtime sports writer, longtime member of this panel since day one. We're close to day one. Chuck Cavaleras, thanks for being here.
Great to be here, John.
Okay.
Beautiful weather, by the way. Beautiful
It is
weather.
lovely. Hey, it means people are going to be stuck inside watching their television. All right. Tennessee falls down by 17 points yesterday, comes all the way back, takes the lead, only for Santiago Vescovi to fail at the free throw line for the second time this week. I feel bad for him. Rick Barnes said after the game he felt bad for him. And for their opponent to hit another buzzer beater. Not the way you want to spend your week, losing 2 games on buzzer beaters. Missouri 86, Tennessee 85. Rick Barnes said multiple times he was proud of his team fighting back yesterday. I thought, for one, that was kind of interesting. I was expecting him to rip them for their defense, which would be his normal tack. Instead, he talked multiple times about how proud he was. And I just wonder if that's a signal that he may have concerns about where his team is mentally. Just my thought. Let's take a look at the numbers, though. This was the story of the game. Tennessee came into that game number 2 in the nation in scoring defense. Out of 352 teams, you were number 2 in scoring defense. Number 1 in opponent field goal percentage. Number 1 in opponent three-point field goal percentage. Missouri, hey, that's a good shooting team. Number 9 in scoring offense. Number 18 in field goal percentage. Only number 78 in three-point percentage. They shoot 35.9. But yesterday, 86 points from Missouri, 52.6 from the field. And they hit 53, almost 54% from 3, 14 of 26. Guys, we can talk about defense all we want. If the other team's firing it in and it just drops,
Right.
It drops. And they had a lot of shots that were contested. They just made them yesterday. This is my take on basketball. Mark, we'll get the educated man's take on basketball. What was your big takeaway from yesterday's game?
Well, they were making shots in that first half, and we were playing quality defense. To me, this is the time when coaches earn their big bucks. You're facing some adversity. You're trying to make some adjustments. They went to the 4-guard lineup in the second half that proved to get some scoring punch and do some things. But when you're moving guys in and out of the lineup, that is cause for how do you manage the locker room? You lose 3 games in 3 out of 4. This is the time that the coaches have to get paid or earn their big bucks, is how do they handle this adversity? Because this is a veteran ball club. They've got the talent. They've got, more importantly, the discipline to win at a high level. But when you face these roadblocks, the challenges, the little small things become very big things if the coaches don't maybe adjust some things, how they're interacting in the media and doing those type of things.
You've also got Josiah Jordan-James. You don't know when you're going to get him back. He was out yesterday. And then Julian Phillips
Goes down,
leaves the game. So in terms of adversity, you've got more coming your way, including number 3 Alabama arrives in Knoxville on Wednesday night. Jimmy, your take on that game?
That Tennessee is not playing with the really good basketball IQ late. And I'll go to Vanderbilt game on that as well. But my concern was, what's Zakai Ziegler doing fouling in the backcourt for a 5th foul? Missouri goes and it's 2 free throws to cut it to 1. And then you have a lane violation. Now, I know Vescovi missed a free throw, but what are you doing having a lane violation there, too?
In that situation, of all times,
Yes. So, now, did that distract Vescovi? I don't know if it did or not, but he missed a free throw. The previous game, you leave the three-point shooter in the corner. You have a player that had what I thought an open dunk, and he didn't take it. Just mistakes that you're making late that, to me, cost you those games.
Yeah, I thought, man, Missouri was mentally tough in that environment, which is incredible at Thompson Bowling Arena, to then fight back after giving up the lead. But part of that was Tennessee helping. I mean, Tennessee helped. That foul at the other end of the floor, you lose Zakai for the rest of the game, and you send Missouri to the free throw line, stop the clock when they're trying to come back. They hit shots late. From Rick Barnes' standpoint, where's his confidence in a veteran that you would like to count on in those spots? Olivier Comwell. He was out late when Awaka made the foul at the three-point line against Vanderbilt. Well, Olivier's on the bench. So here's a guy that 2 weeks ago we're talking about, man, what a performance against Texas. And again, this can be college basketball up and down, back and forth, but it's coming at a bad time.
Yeah, boy, I was watching it thinking, this is not Conzo Martin's Missouri team, is it? I mean, they were playing the way a lot of teams are going to attack Tennessee. To me, spread the floor if you've got shooters and they're knocking them down. I mean, that kind of takes the life out of you, doesn't it? When you're playing great defense, they banked in a 3. And they're making them when you're in their face. So to come back from being 17 down, Tyreek Key, boy, he really stepped up at a great time. But to me, I was looking at it thinking, this is deja vu all over again. Losing like that at the buzzer. I can't remember a team losing back-to-back games like that.
Well, we continue to say, to me, I mean, Olivier, you mentioned Olivier. He is the key to this team advancing. If you cannot get consistent inside presence, whether it's scoring, defensive, rebounding, look, Awaka's playing at a high level. He's doing a lot of good things. 1 for 6 from the free throw line, issues. Euros has had free throw issues. But Olivier is the guy that Barnes talked about in the postgame. The inconsistency, he didn't mention names, but that's who he's talking about. Right. Olivier's inconsistency is what's causing this team to have some of those roller coasters.
Is there any chance, you mentioned late game composure, Jimmy, is there any chance, and like, we're nitpicking a guy who's put Tennessee in the top 10 and pretty much keeps them in the top 10 for the most part. But is there any chance, in your opinion, these guys may be a little tight because he does constantly look, you make a mistake, you're out. You know, Julian Phillips. We talked earlier this week. If he's in high school, does he dribble that ball out or does he dunk that ball?
Like, for sure. One thing, I do think that it's interesting because, like, BJ, he'll have a big leash on. We'll talk about BJ getting in a little bit of HTML. Certain guys, he doesn't have a really big leash on Zakai. Or he won't pull him really quick. Zakai, yes, he had 10 assists, but he's getting back tapped with turnovers. He makes some unwise decision. Some of the three-pointers he takes, yes, they're late clock, but he does allow some guys to play through some mistakes, which can cause issues in a locker room if you have some guys with a quick hook and then other guys you don't have a quick hook. That can become an issue.
Very quick, 30 seconds for everybody to jump in here. Does anybody think that there could be some pressure that these guys are feeling, or am I just, to
me, I don't think so once the game starts. I don't. Okay. I think once the game starts, you go play.
Pressure there for sure, because Barnes is on these guys, man. He does not want them. Like, he does nitpick at times. They are at times, like Julian's, afraid to make a mistake because they do care so much. Zakai's free throw or foul, that was because he cares so much. But I do think there's some level, care who you are, when you lose 3 or 4, you start getting a little bit nervous and you don't want to make mistakes.
You would think most of the pressure would be shooting, right? But he basically, if you're open, shoot it. Yeah. So, but if you make a mistake on defense, you're coming out. So that to me is interesting. But
Is there pressure? I think there's pressure to win at this level, not necessarily because Barnes is putting it on you.
Okay.
Yeah, an obvious one would be Vescovy at the free throw line late. There's a reason in the post game that Rick Barnes is talking about how bad he feels for Vescovy.
Yeah.
Because one, he's probably gonna be in that spot again.
Yeah.
Back-to-back games. It's not the first time this season that he's been in that spot. That he'll need to hit those again. So trying to pick him back up because Vescovy's feeling that coming out of that game, saying, "Man, I cost my team Wednesday. I cost my team tonight." You're trying to pick him back up.
Whereas typically he's a guy, though, that if he doesn't bring his A game, you're not going to win. I mean, he, as Barnes said yesterday, not only saying I feel bad for him, he specifically said I feel bad for him because we're not in this position in the top 10 if not for Vescovi.
Exactly.
Yeah, he hit clutch shots at Vanderbilt, just didn't hit the free throw late.
And typically, he's the guy you want at the line.
Yeah.
Like,
All right, let's tell you what's coming up throughout this show, still to come. We're going to be talking about, is this just hoops or are there bigger issues at play here? These losses. How much? We know everybody's hitting the panic button. Should we be? Oklahoma, Texas arrive in 2024. We'll talk about that from a hoops and football perspective. Rapid fire on Tennessee football. 4 big topics to discuss there. We'll even have a little Super Bowl fun on this Super Sunday. But when we come back, we've got some interesting research. Mark Pankrat's going to blow through the numbers. Well, I'll throw out the numbers, and then Mark's going to explain what the heck the numbers mean. If you're wondering, we didn't see it yesterday, but if you're wondering why does Tennessee's offense seem so bad? Well, it's pretty simple when you break it down. We'll lay it out for you next. Come on back on the Sports Source.